Another storm is heading for the northeast U.S. this weekend, but who's getting the most rain and when? Let's break it down. Hey guys, I'm John with the New York Metro weather. Today is Thursday, October 12th. Another weekend coming up and another storm on the way. That has been the trend for the last several weekends in the northeast United States. Hopefully one of these weeks we will break the trend and we can actually go outside on the weekend and not have to worry about a storm coming through, and I can actually take a breather for once. But until then, let's get back into it and look at what is going on here as we go into the weekend. This is the vorticity map, and we talk a lot about vorticity. This is basically just a spin in the atmosphere, but the colors here help us to show where the systems are that are organizing the disturbances in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And the one thing that I want to point out with this storm is that it's going to be really different than the last several storms, which were a little bit more significant and lean towards the possibility of being extreme in terms of rainfall potential. This one is actually leaning in the other direction, a little bit less significant, and I'll explain why. So we look at the vorticity. This is the storm that's going to eventually produce our rain this weekend in the Northeast. But you see how this storm here across New England is still spinning around in our area Thursday into Friday morning. This creates a little bit of a traffic jam, right? Because our storm here in the Midwest is trying to amplify and bring all this moisture up, but this storm here is stopping it from doing that across the eastern United States. So what happens is, to go back to the Midwest storm, it tries to amplify, but eventually it just gets sort of shunted to the east, and you can see that happen here. Look how it once was really amplified and energetic, and then it just sort of flattens out and ends up sort of skirting to the east along the east coast. It'll still have moisture with it, it'll still bring unsettled weather, but it's not a big, huge, significant storm because it kind of just gets squished by the other storm, which is still hanging out across New England. Now, we talk a lot about the blocking to the north, right? We've talked about this for our last couple of videos. We're looking at heights here in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, so about 10,000 feet up, and we're looking at the departures in anomalies in those heights. So the blues are your troughs where the heights are lower than normal, and the reds are your ridges where your heights are higher than normal. And this big red blob here across Canada is acting like a traffic stop, basically slowing everything down, keeping these two disturbances close to each other. And that's why we expect this evolution where this storm, which normally would have amplified up northward, is going to instead skirt to the east, towards the east coast. So it will impact us, but it may not be as significant as it could have possibly been. So let's get into it and look at what to expect this weekend. Here's the NAM model. We're going to back this up and look at the forecast. Now, one thing I want to get clear here, Friday is really not a bad day across the majority of the Northeast. This is Friday afternoon. We are clear of precipitation across the vast majority of the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. The storm is still spinning across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes. But here in the Northeast, really not much going on. Friday looks like a very nice day. We will notice some clouds increasing as the evening goes on, and then late in the overnight and the early morning hours of Saturday, we start to get some rain in. It's really Saturday late morning into early afternoon when the models are bringing that steadier and heavier rain into the Northeast United States. Now, we're not necessarily expecting widespread flooding, but it's going to be unsettled afternoon on Saturday. It looks dreary, rainy, humid, and generally just very unsettled from Saturday late morning into the afternoon and probably into the evening hours as well as this storm system evolves throughout the area. Now, we talked about the storm being a little less significant. That'll help us on the wind side of things, right? We know it's going to rain Saturday from the morning through the evening, but the coastal storm is way off to the south and east here, so we're not getting that strong onshore flow anymore. Instead, just probably a little bit breezy and gusty with those northeast winds pushing into parts of the coastal plain. A little bit worse along the coast, but really not expecting wind to be a huge problem with this storm system. So let's talk precipitation totals. We're going to go and zoom in here to the Northeast United States a little bit, and here's what the latest European ensemble says. Generally, between a ½ inch and an inch and a half of rain. And it's, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the specifics here, but what we see is the potential for up to an inch of rain with this system, depending on where you are locally. On this particular model, it's a little heavier across Pennsylvania and along the Jersey coast and a little bit lighter in between. Anywhere that this rain falls, the potential will exist for about up to an inch of rain over a prolonged period of time. So we're not expecting any huge, widespread, extreme flooding with this one. There could be localized flooding, especially in those poor drainage, low-lying areas that typically flood. So pay attention if you live in one of those flood zones. But in terms of general expectations, I'm not expecting this to be a huge flooding system. If you live in New England, most models agree right now the majority of this storm is going to miss you to the south. You see this cutoff here? We talked about that storm that's still spinning up there across New England. That's going to deflect a lot of this rain to the south and keep it across the mid-Atlantic states. So let's back up and do this timing thing one more time. We'll zoom into the Northeast and take it through as we move into Saturday. And then I want to roll into Sunday as well. So here's the latest NAM model. It's going to show us what to expect, and we're going to roll forward. Friday, again, okay, most of the day. Late Friday, we get some clouds in. Saturday, late morning into early afternoon. That's when we have the bulk of our rain overhead in the Northeast United States. And then here's Sunday morning, 8 a.m. The rain is starting to wrap up. It's still going along parts of the Mid-Atlantic and New Jersey coast. Most of New England's starting to clear out. And then as we roll forward to about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the system is pulling away. So the second half of Sunday looks like it's going to be a decent end to the weekend after this Saturday washout. So stick with us. We're going to have updates throughout the next couple of days. We'll track this storm with you again. Not expecting huge, major hazardous weather, but it is going to be a dreary, unsettled day on Saturday. We'll keep a real close eye on this system over the next couple of days. And as always, if you guys have any questions, just leave them right here in the comments. Be happy to help and guide you through this system. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you soon.